Welcome to Beyond the Product.
We're Jason and Miranda, the husband and wife team behind Chiasson Smoke. We're a small fabrication shop in southwest Wisconsin.
Grab a seat and let's go beyond the product.
Well, here we are. Our first episode. Miranda, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling pretty good.
All right. Well, good. So we have a few questions that people have been asking us over the years that I think we've answered here or there. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't, but we'll get a little more specific. I'm ready.
Try it out.
I want to know all I can about my beautiful wife here.
That's so sweet. Okay, let's go. I'll try my best.
All right, Miranda. Question number 1. Where did you grow up?
So, I grew up in southwest Wisconsin on a little farm where our business currently is, actually. Pretty much spent my childhood on horseback. Had fun.
One of those horse girls.
One of those horse girls.
The crazy horse girl.
Crazy horse girl.
And your name ends with Miranda. You say you gotta watch out for them.
In fact, speaking of that,
those A's.
So growing up, I actually went by Moran because I got teased and bullied so much at school with the Miranda every time I walked anywhere. So I did until after everyone knew me as Moran until I graduated high school.
They did that because they had a crush on you.
And then I turned Miranda again because people are a little more older and more mature.
A little more older.
Yeah.
It's always a good thing. This interview style, trying to figure out exactly all the little things I may not know about you that I can find out now, you know? So
better ask better questions.
So, how many boyfriends you had in high school? Not a good question.
1. I didn't have many boyfriends.
Where did we meet and how did we meet? You want to tell the story or should I tell the story?
You should tell the story. You're much better at this podcast thing. Go ahead.
Am I? It's my first. I think we're both together at the first time. So we met in Big Fork, Montana, working for Flathead Lake Lodge, which was a resort dude ranch on Flathead Lake.
Yep.
And I ended up there right after trade school. I left Louisiana. I had worked for a while right after trade school. Wanted to be a cowboy. And I said, the only place to be a cowboy is you got to go out west. So I started applying for jobs out west on ranches. And there's a lot of dude ranches out west that hire seasonal staff. So I sent in some applications, and I got hired on. So I was there. My first year was 2001. And then I left. I ended up in Warrensburg, New York, working for another dude ranch. Then I ended up back in Louisiana, back in the oil field. And then after Hurricane Katrina, we were doing a lot of P&A work on these offshore platforms. Basically, that had got destroyed during Katrina. The ranch called and said, "Hey, man, would you come back and be a barn manager for the ranch?" And I said, "I'll be there shortly." A chopper was called in. I got on a chopper. I went back and I drove to Montana. This was 2007.
Yep.
And that's where we met.
Yeah.
The day I drove up to the ranch, you were roping a steer in the roping arena. I'll never forget that day.
No, I'll never forget it either.
But that's what got me to Montana, and that is our first time meeting. What got you to Montana?
So I was going to trade school in Madison, Wisconsin at MATC, and it was for marketing, actually. But that time in my life, school wasn't really clicking for me. So I
kind of a party girl.
Yeah, I kind of was.
That's what I hear anyway.
Madison, Wisconsin is a pretty big party college town. So I ended up basically dropping out, I guess you can say, and decided to put in an application at a dude ranch in Montana called Flathead Lake Lodge. And so I ended up getting a job there the summer of 2006. And that was my first year there. I spent a whole summer working there, then came back, moved back to Wisconsin to, I worked at Rockwell Automation in the office for about 6 months and then left again for Montana in 2007. And that was the year Jason and I met.
That was it. So
Yeah.
we met 2007. I was your boss,
Yeah.
and
Very much.
that was
I have a
very
thing for a boss, apparently.
well. That was very interesting because you weren't the best employee. I remember that, Miranda.
Yeah.
But we got through it, and so the way it worked there was in the wintertime we were laid off because it was a seasonal position, and we needed to make extra money. And I took some of my welding experience
How
and
did you get that welding experience?
from when I was in trade school for diesel mechanics, I took welding. And I grew up on a dairy farm in South Louisiana. Like, we always, like, welding was just part of stuff that we did, working, repairs. I wouldn't say I was an expert welder, but I knew how to weld. And in 2000, I think it was 2008, was our first winter where Doug said, "Hey, if y'all want to use the shop, you're more than welcome to use the shop to make extra money in the wintertime." And that's when we started making spurs.
Yep.
So we built a few pair of spurs, and we had sold some online. We were team roping then. Um, so we would sell a pair here, a pair of spurs there, and we ended up buying our first CNC plasma table,
Yeah. 2x2 Lincoln Torchmate.
a 2x2 Lincoln Torchmate, and we knew nothing
Yeah.
about it.
No torch height control.
No torch height control,
Manually setting the
the torch
height.
height,
Yeah.
but we were cutting out like half-inch plate,
Yeah.
so we didn't have too many problems with.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't bad.
But
Um.
you started drawing. We would do the spur shanks. The original way was I would cut it out with oxyacetylene, and then we had the belt sander, and we would profile it on the belt sander. Weld the two pieces together and just profile. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, there has to be a faster way to do this, and definitely our introduction to metalwork. I remember you would drill holes, and we would put the slots in.
Yep.
We would
Finish them at the end.
finish them at the end. We would make our rowels. Um,
Lots of filing.
yep. And that's so we did that a few years. Now that I think about it,
A couple winners.
yeah. And then
Mm.
that's when the opportunity came up to move to New Mexico.
Yep. So we moved to New Mexico February of 2012.
2012. So it was a few winters we were doing that. Now that you
Mhm.
think about it.
And we moved there to work on a working cattle ranch on the New Mexico Texas border down near Hobbs, New Mexico.
Hobbs, New Mexico. We get there. What got us so excited about going there was the opportunity to rope, right?
Yeah.
Get out of the wintertime in Montana. Um, so we had the chance to move there because they had 20 rope horses ready to go.
It was
Um,
team
steers
rope in
as
heaven.
steers as far as the eye could see,
Yeah.
and we could rope all the time. It just Hobbs didn't fit
Yeah, it
us
didn't
very
fit
well.
us.
So we ended up back in Louisiana, and that's when life began, right?
Yep.
That's when we had to turn into grown-ups, I would say.
Yeah, we sold our Torchmate 2x2, which we did end up setting up in New Mexico
Mhm.
for a brief time, but we had to pack that baby back up and we brought it to Louisiana. We decided to sell it because it was time for us to get real jobs. Remember that?
Yeah, I do. We started a lawn service. We were
Because
doing
we
a
were
lawn service.
still like, well, we just want to work for ourselves. But
Yep.
then no, Jason worked on diesel mechanic, dual trucking in Scott. and I went and work at a vet clinic in Lafayette, Louisiana. And then, go ahead.
We got married.
Yeah.
We got married. Um, we bought a house.
Yep.
We had our first
Pregnant.
child.
Yes,
Yes.
child.
Um, yeah.
We were there in Louisiana for 6 years. I got pregnant with our second child, and we kind of just started thinking about, man, do we still want to be working for somebody else, or should we want to start our own thing?
We definitely always had a very entrepreneurial attitude. Is that the word? Or
Yes, because
thought
let's
process?
not forget about the ice cream truck we
In an
also
ice cream
had.
truck. We started an ice cream truck. You know the funny thing about
There's a funny story about that ice cream truck.
that ice cream truck. So our house, the air conditioner went out in our house,
Yeah,
and the
we would run the ice cream truck in the evenings after work, and what, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then on the weekends.
yeah.
And we accumulated enough money, but income from it, that when our air conditioner went out, we were able to buy the air conditioning unit with,
Yeah, it was like $8,000 to
yeah,
replace the air
with our
conditioning
ice
unit,
cream truck.
the outside unit, everything. And we had the money because of the ice cream truck.
Yeah,
But yeah, so definitely always had an entrepreneurial spirit, I guess you could say. And
yeah,
the opportunity came up to move back to your family farm. Um, and we contemplated it for a while.
yeah. We
We
had
were-
Once we moved up here, we kind of had moments of leaving. Maybe
yeah,
what's the
this
difference in
definitely wasn't.
working?
Yeah,
Yeah, what's the difference in working for somebody up here? Then might as well just be back down south. But we had sold everything in Louisiana. We sold our house. We
you got to talk about the Dave Ramsey's. I'm gonna talk about it. You may not want to talk about it, but we got really into. We knew that we had to get out of debt,
Yeah,
and the only way to get out of the debt was to discipline ourselves. And I was working all the overtime I could, and we had hardcore discipline ourselves. We got rid of all the debt. To start this, we sold the house, so that gave us a little bit of cash up front to start.
yeah. Keep in mind we had a note on a lawnmower. Even
Yeah,
we had a horse trailer
yeah.
note. We had a truck note. We had all this like crazy, silly.
We were in
It
debt.
was just a little bit silly of debt, and
Everything.
it got to the point where it was like, okay, we sell it or pay it off, or what do we need to do? So we did the envelope system.
The envelope
And
system. I'll never forget the envelope system, man.
it was pretty fun,
Yeah.
it got fun for a while. We
It
saved up
was
some
fun
cash.
managing the budget like that
It was, and then yeah,
and seeing results.
yeah. So long story short,
Long story short,
we
yeah.
got out of debt and we came up to Wisconsin.
We
Again,
started making spurs again. That
yeah.
was kind of that was the original idea.
We ended up buying the 4x4 table
Yeah.
with saved money we had, and yeah, then I kind of had to relearn how to do any amount of CNC work, or because when we had our 2x2 torch mate in Montana, there really wasn't much information, videos on.
Yeah, YouTube wasn't as
No, there wasn't a lot of information on how to run it or draw or anything. So when we got the 4x4 table in the shop, what was that, 8 years ago now? 7 years ago?
2019.
Yeah. So I
So
just started getting on YouTube, and I downloaded the free program Inkscape, and I just started studying it and learning it and just drawing stuff.
and
And
that's you started cutting out spur shanks again, and we were bending bands and cutting out bands and uh making spurs, and it just wasn't going. And that's when Jason, our brother-in-law, came. I forget which summer this was. This was right before COVID. So this was 2019.
yeah, we sold a couple smokers in 2019.
Yeah, we sold a couple in 2019.
But in 2019, we were going to
That's when we were quitting
Yeah, we were about to move back to Louisiana.
because
It just wasn't working.
it wasn't working. The original plans of getting here wasn't none of like things just weren't working, and that's when Jason said, "I'll buy one if you build one," and it was like, okay, and he gave us full retail price. He didn't ask for a family discount.
We were going to quit after Jason bought, but then word of mouth, he sold another smoker.
Right. But I had already signed. I had already talked to. So I had already talked to Brian. I had my job back. They gave me my job back, and I had even told him a start date. And I remember we got that order in for the other smoker after the original smoker.
Yep.
And then that's when I had to call and say I'm not coming.
Yeah, and then through the person that bought the second smoker, we ended up word of mouth again. We got an entry gate, we got staircases, we got handrails, all from the same client.
Yeah, he started giving
And
us all
so
this
we just
work.
started getting all this work.
And then while this is happening, we started posting TikTok videos
Yeah.
that you didn't want me to post. What did you say?
TikTok is silly.
Silly.
It's for kids. It's a dancing app. What are we doing on there? But then the more and more we watched TikTok and realized that a lot of small businesses were their lives were changing, their business was changing overnight.
Yep.
We realized like we got to take this serious.
Yeah, COVID was happening, and I think a lot of people were home. A lot of people were turning to social media, and then we had our first ever viral video.
Yeah.
Do you remember that viral video?
I do.
Would you care to explain that video or what happened?
The video is of Jason in the fabrication shop, and he was talking about whether or not we should paint rocket stoves. And it was a big argument because Jason says we don't paint rocket stoves, we don't powder coat rocket stoves because it doesn't last. We've experimented, we've proven that
we've had tons of complaints.
The tubing expands and contracts, and it cracks the paint, cracks the powder, and it just started an argument in the comments, and everybody wanted to put their 2 cents in. And through that video, we had a massive amount of orders that night.
Yeah.
Through our website. So we had gotten our website figured out, and I had put everything on the website. It was easily shipped. Well, we made that process better, but we still were able to get them out the door and get them to people's houses, and we had an influx of orders and traffic spikes to our website, and that's really what made us be extra serious about.
It's like, hello.
The whole world of social media changed after that day, and
you're in business now.
We're in business now, and we got to keep this momentum.
Yeah, and I was like, man, it's like you wanted that next viral video, you know? So now, whatever, I forget how many it was, but it was just we had to start the whole business journey. Like now we were getting orders and just trying, I mean, the hours in that shop.
Yeah.
Of trying to keep up with the orders
and one of the reasons we named this podcast Beyond the Product, because there's so much more to it than just building the product.
Building the product is the easy part.
We had a lot to figure out with website fulfillment, customer service, the whole shebang.
The whole kit
but
and caboodle. Is that what it is? Kit and caboodle? Kit and caboodle?
Sure. However you want to say it.
But that's what
yeah.
That's exactly what it was. And I made it a point. I was like, social media works. And that's exactly I was like, I'm gonna post videos, and then people would say, well, if you want to do good on social media, you need to be consistent. I'm like, okay, I'll be consistent. I'm gonna post. I mean, at that time, I was 3-4 videos a day, And I would share anything, and I would mostly share stuff that I was learning. I remember a lot of our videos back then was like, hey guys, I'm trying to do this, not too sure about it, this is my
Mhm.
thought process. And a lot of guys would kind of put in their what they thought about it. um, and things just started going. And then sometimes I would post the videos like, this is how I did this, and people liked it. A lot of people didn't.
I think the budget tools, like
Budget
how you were
tools.
able to build so many things with Harbor Freight tools or modifying Harbor Freight tools to work
I mean,
for
two,
some expensive
we built
job.
3 spiral staircases with a Harbor
Yeah.
Freight roller,
And our 4x4 bolt together delusional design
delusional
CNC
design
table.
CNC table.
Yeah.
And after that first one, then I just figured out the tubing roller with it had the swag off road kit, and yeah, we were in business, and
Yeah.
social media was kind of the heart to it all. Even to this day, I would say social media was kind of the heart to it all. And it's crazy because I didn't want to do it, but we were just in that situation where it's like, I'm gonna do it. And I've actually grown to enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like, I like making
So,
videos.
looking back in the first couple years of Chiasson Smoke, what do you think was our biggest breakthrough? Like, what did we
Marketing.
in
That's
hiring employees?
hiring, yeah. I mean,
We'll get into a whole episode
yeah,
about
I
that,
think
but
we'll get more into those episodes. But when people ask me now, it's like a lot of answers you get. Like, what's your biggest advice? Um, a lot of answers you're gonna get. Well, you got to know how to weld and you got to know how to fabricate. Well, right, but once you want to get past that, it's like you need to know how to market. You need to know how. You need to know that side of stuff, which we didn't. So our first few years in business caused us to be in the positions we were in. Why I was trying to get my old job back, and it all was marketing. I bet you if we were still making spurs and we had a video go viral while we were, when we were making spurs, we might have sold more spurs. And we've learned how to make our videos a little more interesting, and because we do have a lot of videos that suck,
right, yeah, we do.
you know, and we
Um,
just learned what started working and how to make them interesting, how to cut, how to get quick and to the point, how to just edit.
so that
And
kind of answers the question of the piece of advice that you would give somebody that's starting their own business. That would be
if
the one piece of advice that you think is the most valuable would be marketing. Learn how to market.
taking that their skill set is there, like they know how to weld, they know how to, they could build something. If you can build a square frame and it not warp and it's square, and you've got nice mitered corners and you've got clean welds, then you could probably fabricate. As simple as that is, when you think about horses, the most challenging task, but yet the most challenging thing or maneuver to do with a horse, but yet the most basic, is loping circles. There's so much that happens in loping circles on a horse that have to be correct to, and there's so much that happens in fabricating a square tubular frame, that so many basics in that. So if you can do that, you can probably start a fabrication shop. What goes beyond that, the one thing is going to be the marketing. You can't just open your door, sit outside the shop drinking your coffee, hoping someone comes by and says, "Hey, do you weld?" Um, and marketing, it's not. This isn't 2010. This isn't 2010 anymore. I think it's no longer an ad in the paper and the yellow pages and stuff like that. What would you give someone? I mean, what would be your tip?
No, exactly that. I don't even
That's what I
you
feel.
just
Yeah, you got to have the skill set, obviously. I ain't saying you have to be perfect at it, but a guy should study marketing.
So I think we covered how we met,
I
where we grew up,
we've brought us to the point of
building Chiasson
we're at
Smoke.
Chiasson Smoke, and I think we tried to keep carrying social media. We've learned about social media. I think we're gonna do a podcast specifically on social media and talk about
Episode.
that,
An episode.
or a segment of an episode, a segment of um, one of our episodes, and get a little more detailed about social media. But
So looking ahead in Chiasson Smoke, what are some? What are you excited about? Where's Chiasson Smoke heading?
um,
What excites you about where Chiasson Smoke is heading, or
I
where we hope it heads?
yeah, we are trying to brand ourselves as a smoker builder, and that's where I want to go. There's thousands of smoker builders out there, and we want to get our name in the pot too, and that's where we're heading. So, producing quality smokers that people and families enjoy, and that's where we're heading. That's what we're doing.
It's exciting. I'm excited.
Yeah, so am I.
2025. We're moving out of the small little shop we started in.
Yeah,
So 2025 is going to be a
yep. We're gonna
we're
do a
going to be all
podcast.
under one roof.
We're gonna do the podcast, and one goal with the podcast is not only us talking about beyond the product, but I want to interview guys that I influenced me. I want to interview people that kind of have similar stories and share it. You know, we have other business people, other people that have had success with social media, other
We're definitely going beyond welding and fabrication. That's the whole point of this podcast is we hope we can just have a community of people or listeners that want to speak of small business journey, and hopefully we have things we can talk about and get people on here that can share their businesses and their experiences and lessons.
absolutely. Thank you for watching our first episode of Beyond the Product,
Or listening if
or
you're listening.
listening. Yeah, if you're just listening. We hope we brought you along to where we are now, and let's share the journey, share the story, and make it happen.